Let's make a junk journal from scratch. Let's start with a blank table to create a mood board to draw inspiration and ideas. Let's talk about how to not get overwhelmed by the possibilities and materials you have on your desk while making a junk journal. Let's go shopping in our own stash to find interesting and fun materials to use. And last but not least, let's choose a theme for our junk journal that challenges our creative brains a little bit. Hi there, this is Luise Heinzel. Thanks for joining me today. This video is the starting point of a new little series I have for you, and this series is all about how to make a junk journal from scratch. No matter if you are new to junk journaling or if you already have made some journals, I'm really hoping that you can draw some inspiration and perhaps also some tips and tricks from this series. So perhaps you are wondering why my hands and my coffee cup and everything is so small today, and why I have a little different table here than you know from my other videos. I like to start a junk journal from scratch, and I mean really from scratch. I like to take a cup of coffee and perhaps something, little hint, that I have already in my mind, but that doesn't have to be like a really concrete idea. What I have here, I will tell you in a second what this is something that is like the first little thing of inspiration, but you don't need something like this. But what I like to do is I like to take a really big and empty table in my craft room to start and to put all the materials that I want to use to that table instead of having those materials on my craft desk. I think that has some advantages because my craft desk is not so very big, especially when I have my camera and make videos for you on my desk. Then it's even smaller, and the space I have on my table is not so big. So it can be overwhelming when I have all of the materials laying around me and then I can't find anything anymore. So it helps when you have a table where you can put everything and you can perhaps also let it be there for the whole process of making a journal. I want to create a mood board today, and for doing that, it's also really helpful to have a really big space. I had a mood board video on my channel. I can't even remember when that was. It's relatively long ago. I will link that down below for you in case you have missed that and in case you want to see another variation of how to make a mood board. But what I'm trying to say is, below that video, there were some comments from you, and some people said, well, Luise, that's a nice idea, but I don't have this much space in my home where I can put all of these materials, and I don't have the chance to have all of my materials on my on a table during the whole process because I just don't have the space. And that is, of course, a good point. So if you think I don't have this much space because I'm crafting in my living room or in my dining room or wherever, or I only have a like really small corner where I have a few craft supplies, and after I have finished crafting, I have to put everything away and I don't have the chance to let everything there where it was, then I can give you a little tip. You don't necessarily need this much space. You could also take like a tray, for example, and put everything on that tray. If the tray, so that you can, take it away from the table and put it away and use your dining room table for, having dinner, so that you don't have to have that on your space there. Or you could also take these trays that you can, stack on top of each other so that you can have the possibility to have more space. I mean, a tray is normally not this big, yeah? So if you don't have like a giant tray, take several different trays and put them on top of each other, and then you can put everything away. I remember a comment from someone, I don't remember the name, I'm really sorry. But that person said she has a really like giant piece of, this this wood that you have in your shelf. I think that's also called a shelf, isn't it? I mean, a piece of wood which is big enough to put everything, and then she has taken it like a tray and she has put it below her bed so that everything was nice and tidy after her creative process, and then she could take it out again when she wanted to go on with her journal. So perhaps that is an idea for you as well. For the mood board I want to create today, I want to start with something, and that is in this little box which comes from my grandma. I'm really happy that I have this box, and most of the things which are in here come also from my grandma. And I wanted to use this as like a starting point, because for the theme of my journal, I have chosen something that really challenges my creative brain, because I want to make an embroidery journal. And this was my inspiration. So I got some of these little things here in Happy Mails, but some of these are also really, really old because they come from my grandma. And every time I open this, I think this is just such a treasure and it looks so, so cool. So why don't we take something like this as an inspiration? If you don't like embroidery, please try to think about what you want to make. And let's quickly talk about where to get this first piece of inspiration if you have a blank table. Because some people say, yeah, I want to make a junk journal, but I don't know where to start. I have absolutely no idea where to start. And then they are sitting in front of a, really blank table like this, and they don't know where to start. For me, inspiration is something that can come from nearly everywhere, that can come from the tiniest piece of something. It could also happen, for example, look here. Here's a very special embroidery thread, which is, this like shiny golden thing. And it could also happen that I don't have this, and I don't have this box from my grandma. I don't have this like childhood memory inspiration kind of thing. Yeah, let's say I don't have that, and I get a Happy Mail with this. Or I go shopping, and on the street, for example, there's laying a tiny piece of this that can also be an inspiration for something. Don't think that the tiny things are not important. Do you know what I mean? You could also have a cup of coffee in a restaurant, and this is laying on the table. I mean, this is perhaps then a little weird restaurant because this looks a little weird. It's not ironed and that stuff, but I think you know what I want to say. It can also be that you sit there and you have your coffee and you touch these little fluffy things here, and this is suddenly an inspiration. And I think that some of us think, and I include myself as well, that this is not enough to be an inspiration for a journal. But it is. It definitely is if you think a little further and if you appreciate that you have found a tiny thing that could be an inspiration. So let's take this thing back, because I have to challenge myself a little bit with this new journal, but I have chosen this theme for my journal on purpose because I thought it's easier for me to talk about my thoughts and to explain my process if I have something that is totally new for me. So I'm trying to put myself back a few years ago and try to imagine what would I do if I never had made a journal. Yeah, so if I would, I try to imagine I was really a bloody beginner, because then I think my brain works a little different, and then I can perhaps give you some more tips and tricks that you could consider including into your own process. Why is embroidery challenging for me? Because I don't have the skills to embroider. Yeah, when I see something like, for example, on photos, or when I find something on a flea market, for example, that has embroidery, then I'm always so amazed, and I'm totally in awe with all of those artists who make really this amazing embroidery, but I can't do it. But the other thing is, when I see this, I'm already so inspired and thrilled about just, how this looks. And when I touch this, it's so cool that I want to have something that I can call an embroidery journal. Yeah, so this is, of course, a cool material to include into junk journals, but what to do if you don't have the skills? Yeah, so that makes me feel like a bloody beginner because I have no skills. If you know my channel and if you watch me for a longer time, you know that it is already a problem for me to sew a button, for example, to a junk journal or to a page or a cover or whatever. I really struggle with that. And to be honest, I hate sewing by hand. Yeah. So let's challenge our brains a little bit. And if you, by choosing something like this, and if you don't like embroidery, of course, you can also take some of the things I tell you in this series and I show you in this series. You can transfer that to other themes of journals, of course, as well. Yeah, you don't need this if you want to follow this series, and you can also do a totally different theme just by taking what I say here and perhaps try to follow my thoughts and then, you know, transfer that to your own process. So the next thing when I had this was I thought, how can I get something embroidered into my journal if I have this but I don't have the skills? And then I came to the idea, why don't I make my own paper? Yeah, I mean, I have a shop with digital paper, so why don't I make my own embroidery paper? And that is exactly what I have done, but you also don't need that. Yeah, so it's I don't want to sound like a broken record. If you watch this, then you know, there's a caption, you don't need this, take what you have and use what you have at hand. Yeah, this is just for, I need something to work with, of course. So please don't think that you can only follow this series if you have the same materials like I have. Yeah, you don't need that. You can also choose what you have in your stash, of course. But let me show you my paper collection. You have seen this paper collection a while ago in one of my past videos, and now I have to zoom in, otherwise you can't see anything. I have shown you this. This is called Embroidery Paper Volume 1. There's also Embroidery Paper Volume 2 available in my shop. I will link both of the items down below in the description box for you. For this series, I want to use this Volume 1 because this has really neutral colors. The other set has really vibrant colors that is more like this here. Yeah, so perhaps you want to check that out. But I've decided that I want to go with a really, really neutral color palette. And that is something I think choosing a color palette is the most difficult thing for me, because I often have the problem when I want to make a junk journal. I think, okay, I want embroidery. I have this. But this is not really a color palette, is it? I mean, this is so rainbow-ish that it can be overwhelming and confusing when it comes to choosing the other materials. And I often have the problem that I think, okay, let's just make a neutral journal. Then you don't have these problems. Then you can choose brown and beige and white and so on, and you won't have these problems. But I nearly always end up with choosing other colors, like for example in this case it could be blue or red or yellow. It would fit here, yeah, because colors fit to neutral color palettes. Yeah, I mean colorful colors. These are colors as well, Louise. I think you got me. And my challenge is also to try to stay in a really limited color palette, because I think it's important to have a color palette when you start making a junk journal. If you want to have an harmonious and cohesive journal in the end, yeah. If you are the like rainbow type of crafter, then that probably doesn't matter. But for me, it's important to have a color palette. And if I don't have a color palette, I can easily get overwhelmed. And that's why I see the necessity for myself to choose a color palette. So that's the first thing, that I have this idea of this neutral color palette, and that I have this paper collection which I want to use. That was my starting point. I thought, if I don't have the skills for embroidery, why don't I make my own paper? And perhaps you want to have this as well. Then, as I said, you find the link down below in the description box. Because I also thought perhaps there are some people out there who can't do embroidery by themselves as well. So then this could be helpful. What I also have made for this paper collection is that I mixed embroidery with like paper. Yeah, so that's the reason why these sets are called embroidery paper. I mean, it's embroidery on paper, but it's also a mixture out of embroidery and paper, because here, for example, you can see this looks more like paper. This looks not embroidered. Yeah, and I wanted to have something that is like a mixture of that. So here are some elements that are like paper and other elements look like they were embroidered. Of course, I haven't done this with my own hands. Yeah, so this is a digital thing, of course. But I wanted to have this really cool mixture. Here, for example, you have the feeling, I mean, I have the feeling, I hope that you can see that as well, like I see it. When I touch this, it feels like it was textured, and I can nearly feel the embroidery thread here. I'm a little bit proud that this turned out like it turned out. And now, of course, I'm excited to create a journal with this. And the next thing was, so by the way, this is 30 pages in the whole set, so here's a lot more. I will not flip through everything because I don't want to wreck your nerves. You can see every single page in my shop in the preview. And the next thing that I thought was, what could I use to combine with this thing here? And when I have this as a starting point, and that doesn't have to be a digital paper, yeah, you could also use a paper pad that you have laying around, or you perhaps have collected some papers over the years and then you want to use them, then take them out. That doesn't have to be a digital paper, but you know, I have a shop. I make digital paper, yeah, so I want to use it as well. So I make a living from this, so I use it. But that doesn't mean that you have to use something like this as well. If you, for example, don't have a printer, then you can't use something like this, yeah. Then please use something else. But what I'm trying to say is, when you have something that like represents your theme, like this represents my idea of making an embroidery journal, then take that and put that to your table and try to, you know, have little space around so that your brain doesn't get stuck on this thing here, on this space. Yeah, because when you sit in front of your table and you look at this, it can happen that you think, okay, this is like, sometimes it feels like the border of the paper is the border in your brain and you don't think further. Yeah, but if you have space and really like, you know, empty space around you without a paintbrush here, without ink pads there, without leftovers from another project here, which can confuse you, then you have the chance to think, yeah, like out of this box. Do you know what I mean? And when you have that, then you can think, okay, what else could I use to go on and what could I combine with this? And that is exactly what I want to try now. I want to make a mood board and lay everything to my table that I want to use. So the first thing could be this. So I can place this here and, excuse me, I can have this on the one hand as a source of inspiration, but on the other hand, I have materials here at the same time. So if I want to use an embroidery thread later in my journal, I have it right here, and it has two functions somehow. On the one hand, it is part of my mood board, and on the other hand, I can take the material directly from here. I don't have to search for my embroidery thread because I know it's here. Do you know what I mean? So the next thing was, and that is with digital paper, I mean always with digital paper, I thought when I print these embroidery papers to the front of my paper sheets here, what do I want to have on the back? Of course, when you print paper, then the back, you know, normally it is white, or you print it double-sided. But in this case, I printed all of the front sides with the embroidery paper because this is matte photo paper, and this paper has the photo surface only on the one side, and on the other side there's just normal copy paper. And with that in mind, I thought, okay, let's print the more like detailed things. Yeah, this is a really detailed paper with delicate details. Let's print that to the better quality surface side of this paper, and yeah, let's use something else for the back side, which is normal copy paper. If you have photo paper which has the surface on both sides, then it doesn't matter. Yeah, but for me, I like to use this paper. It's always the same thing. I think detailed things which I want to showcase in my journal, I print to the side where the photo surface is, and the other things that are like more like backgroundish or not so important regarding to the quality, I put to the back. That doesn't mean that you can't print printables to copy paper. Yeah, you can use copy paper for that as well. I will show you in a second, because to the back, and I think in the camera you can't really tell the difference of the photo paper and the copy paper, because this is the back, and I've printed my paper collection, which is called Stitched, to the back, meaning everything you see here now is not only another paper collection from my shop, and you find the link down below in the description box, but everything here is printed to the copy paper side. You can't really tell that when you look through the camera, but when you look closer you can see, yeah, it's a little more rough. The texture of the paper itself is a little more rough. This is really smooth, and you can, when light comes to the paper, you can see that it's really, really smooth, and that of course fits really well to this theme here, to this embroidery theme. Oh, I'm so sorry. And this here is a little more like grungy somehow, but perhaps you can see the connection and why I have chosen this. This paper collection has a ton of stitched things here, as you can see, but in a really grungy and really, you know, rough way. And I thought if you flip through the journal later and you see this next to each other, oh, this is really close, I'm sorry, then it could be a really cool contrast. And I thought, if I don't have the skills for embroidery, I can also show that in my journal somehow, because I made this to also appreciate embroidery and show my appreciation and my respect for all of those who can do embroidery art. But at the same time, I want to have something from myself that is like a contrast. And this is more my style of stitching. Do you know what I mean? When I make a journal, and normally my journals are relatively grungy, as you perhaps know, then this would be more my style because of all of these imperfections, and there's like really crazy kind of stitching. So I thought it could be a good idea to take a contrasting thing to what we originally have chosen. Why? Because that makes a junk journal interesting. If you have a starting point, for example, something like this, which looks really elegant and really, you know, fragile and nice and delicate and all of that, and you take something, imagine you would have a paper which has feathers on top, white feathers. I think you can imagine a sheet of paper with white feathers, can't you? But no matter how much that would fit, yeah, that would fit perfectly for this, yeah. Imagine feathers, that would be the perfect match, but it's not such a big contrast than having something like this. And in my brain, interesting journals and this kind of, you know, you want to see the journal and you want to explore a journal, this wish comes from taking contrasting things but matching contrasting things. And in this case, it's contrasting, but the colors match because this is neutral as well. And this thing with the sewing somehow matches as well. But at the same time, it's such a big contrast that it turns this whole thing into an interesting starting point, I would say. So this paper pack has also 30 pages. And as you can see, there are like 2 different styles in this paper pack. We have these here. I think I have no idea how I can explain the difference, but I I think you can see that, so that you can also have a really cool mix from these. Even if you want to, you know, if you want to make a journal with these, you also have already a little variation with the style of these pages here. There's a total of 30 pages in this set, and as I said, you will find the link down below in the description box. So I have all of these now printed to the back of the embroidery paper. And to don't confuse myself and to have a really good overview, I want to do it like this. I want to take one of these pages, lay them here. So this is the one style in my eyes, and this is the other style. And I place this here so that it overlaps a little bit, so that I can see both of the styles at the same time. And then I want to take another page from the embroidery paper set, and I put this here so that I can see the colors of this already. And I take everything that I have left over here to save some space. I put this below here so that I can't get confused. Holy moly, now I don't have enough space here. That bothers me a little bit. So I really like to, how can I say that in English? I like to pay attention to how I place these things here, because that is also a part of my process. So if everything would be like thrown to my table and like wonky, that would drive me crazy. So I really do it like this, so that everything is lined up and that it is really like nice and tidy. Do you know what I mean? Because I think you can also get overwhelmed by chaos. And if I would throw everything to my table here without a plan, then I could also throw it to my craft desk and have this tiny amount of space for crafting. And there would be like no difference if I had it on this table or on my craft desk. Do you know what I mean? And that would make no sense. So let's place it here like this. And let's then think about some other paper materials we could use for the journal. Of course, you could make a whole journal from these papers here. Yeah, if you imagine these are a total of 30 pages, that would be totally enough. You could make a whole journal from these. But I like to have some different kinds of papers in my journals, and that also means that I probably won't use all of the 30 pages from here, but I want to mix them, and later on I can see what I have left over, what I need and what I don't need, but I want to have everything here to choose from. If I put only 5 pages from the paper sets, from the printables here, then I would limit myself somehow, but I also don't want to have everything here. Do you know what I mean? So we want to find like this way between not enough and too much, if that makes sense. So the first thing I like to do is I like to try to find more papers that could match these papers here. How to do that? That is really easy. Go shopping in your own stash. Go through your room and look what you have. Don't stay at your table. Don't sit down and just go through your room in your brain, but, you know, physically do that and stand up and go through your room and open your drawers, look what you have, because sometimes it can happen that we forget what we have, and then it's really hard to find the things by just thinking about what we could have, and then we can't imagine the things we have, you know? So when I see this, I think about this idea with a neutral color palette, because we have this white, we have these brownish and beige colors here, and we even have some light black, I would say. So the first idea that came to my mind when I went through my craft room here was to take out this little box here. Ooh. In this box I store some like packaging. Yeah, this is mainly packaging paper and paper bags. So I have this little container here that is sitting in my shelf when I don't need it. Here's some corrugated cardboard, but this was also some packaging and, you know, some normal kind of packaging paper. So I think, and I also know that I like to have packaging paper in my journals. So if you already know something about your own style like that, then take that material and see if that matches. So This is not too thick and not too thin, so let's take this out because I think this matches the colors of the printables really well. And I also thought about this here. This is, I think, from an IKEA shelf or something. Relatively thin, but let's see if we can do something with that. And shall we perhaps also take a paper bag or something? What do we have here? This is, you know, some weird stuff. I have protected my table with this paper for, you know, making something. But I think this is too greenish. I think I don't want to use that. Let's see. What else do we have here? This is another kind of really thin material, but it feels a little bit smooth. We have some yellowish paper here. Perhaps that is good as well. I want to have a little bit more brown. So let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, we have this paper bag here. This could also be something really good. So let's take these and let's put the rest away. And then let's see if this really matches what we have just chosen. And I like to do it like this. Just place this next to the materials you already have. Meaning, if there's, for example, something like another color in between of the other sheets, put it like so to your table and then look if that can match. And I think this yellow is not the best choice. But this, can you see? This could match. Okay, so let's give this yellowish paper a chance. Shall we or shall we not? But that also really doesn't matter, because if we later change our mind, we can always take this out and put that back into our stash. So let's take this and put this here so that we can see this with the other things. Oh, you can't see that. Oh no. Let me put it. This is really hard to film because I have the feeling that the things are falling down from my desk there. So I'm hoping that this works. Okay. So when we have that, what could be the next thing to find more materials? I mean, when we talk about paper bags, you can also draw, what I'm trying to say is you can also draw inspiration from what you already have put to your table. Yeah, you can now take something like this and take this as a new starting point for finding more materials. And when I think about this, I think that I also want to have some tinier like paper bag or envelope kind of things in my journal. So let me see what I can find in my stash and what we can find that matches here. So here we go. I have this little basket where I store all of those like tinier bag things. And I also have these. Look. This is perfect. This is really slim and I would say an unusual shape for a paper bag. So let's take one of these, and the color is perfect because it's white. This neutral color would fit as well. So let's take one of these. And even if I have more of these, I like to take only, in this case, only one of those, because one of each color. Yeah. So what am I trying to say here? These pieces are like special pieces, yeah? And when I have like 10 of these in my journal, that would make, in my eyes, the journal not so interesting. If you have only one of these and one of these, then both of these are a special thing that is unique in the journal because you have it only one time in the journal. If you have a limited amount of craft supplies and you don't have more materials, of course, there's no reason that you can't take all of these. Yeah, if you don't have anything else, then please take what you have, and there's no problem with repeating things in your journal. Could also be an idea for making your life easier. Yeah, so that you, for example, have one of these in the beginning, then in the next signature, for example, one of the brown ones, in the next signature, then this, and that you alternate the colors and the shapes. Could also be a thing to make a journal harmonious, but in this case, I know that I have more of these materials, so I want to take these so that they are a unique piece in my journal later. So shall we place them? No, we don't place them there because these are probably going to become the full pages because the material is so big. Let's place them here. Why is my coffee cup always in the way? Let's place them here to have a good overview to over the smaller things we have. So we have a pile of papers here with the bigger size. So let's make here something with the smaller size. And let's see what else do we have here. Oh, this is really good. Already a little distressed. That I like that. We could turn, this is also a paperback, we could turn that into some kind of a pocket or something like that. I like that, and the color matches. And I also have some CD sleeves, which I already had sprayed a while ago. Ay, holy moly, guacamole. This is this is really yellowish. The back side would fit. I think I have sprayed these with Vintage Photo spray stain. I'm not totally sure, but I guess that this is Vintage Photo. This side would fit, but the inside is really yellow. Let's see. I mean, we could later on, of course, cover the inside up with something else and use only the back. And I think that is what, I mean, that the back, only the back is visible. And I think that I want to do that. So I don't care about the yellow here. So let's take one of these. I take only one, even if I have a ton of these, for the same reason like I just explained with the paper bags. What else do we have? CD sleeves, CD sleeves. Oh, I have this. I got this in a Happy Mail and I really love this paper bag, but it has red. I mean, it would fit, and it is really hard now because, you know, I have this. This is a treasure for me because I got this from a really, really dear viewer. And of course, I want to use the things that you sent to me. This is special, but at the same time, I said, and I made this goal for myself to stay in this neutral color palette. So what to do when you have this, you know? And if I would use this paper bag in a journal, I would not cover up this, because this is the interesting thing about the paper bag, this writing here. So what shall we do? Don't freak your freak, Louise. What shall we do? Shall we use it, or yeah? I mean, red is not a neutral color, is it? But on the other hand, we also have these, and I will probably use some of these up because I can't use them for embroidery art because I don't have the skills, as you know. But I want to use some of these, and I am pretty sure that I can't stay in this neutral color palette, and that I have to put in some pops of color because this is just so beautiful. I think I can't stand it. Is that English? To not use the colors in here. But that also means if we have like a red pop of color here, we could choose later some red embroidery thread and then combine that. Okay. What do I do if I am not sure about something like this? Easy. Take the corner of your table so that you don't have that in the middle and in the center where you have your view the whole time, but put that to the side as something to be like considered if yes or no, use it or don't use it. Yeah, so perhaps we can do it like that. We have this kind of interesting paper bag that is also nice. That are a lot already, but I want to see what else do I have here. Perhaps there's something even more interesting than I already have. And what I also like is like to do is I like to take my time while I do this, because if you do this too fast and then you stay with the materials you have on your desk, then you have limited yourself somehow as well. No, can't really tell you why, but no. Oh, this could also be great. But we also have these really tiny things. But this has blue and that as well. But oh, I know that there are some bluish elements in the embroidery paper set. So we could, let's take one of these little guys here and put them to this to be considered if yes or no pile as well. And let's take off one of these translucent thingies and put them here to the paperback section. And I think I also have some black and white, or black and white, brown and black stuff here. Look, this is just gorgeous. Oh my goodness, and that fits really well to this. What you also could do is when you, I mean, when I look at this, I see already that this little paperback fits here perfectly. What you then could also do is place this here to remember that you want to use this in combination with each other. You can still see the rest of the paper design here so that you can look at this for your color palette, but you can have this to have a reminder that you want to use this on this page or like close to this page. That really helps me. Oh, I have a second one. No, but we put, sorry, this is so crazy because I want to explain what I'm doing here as good as I can, but at the same time I'm realizing that I talk to myself and then sometimes, you know, I say no and you can't understand why. Same reason like with the others. This is so gorgeous, and if I put two of these into the journal, then they are not unique anymore, yeah, because let's save this for another journal to have this as another unique piece in another journal. Let's see, what else do we have? Let's take this out. Is this Christmas? Yes, I guess. Why is this in here? This is also Christmas, I mean wintry themed. But do you know what? I got these little guys here, and now I have to try to don't get emotional. I got these little wonderful pockets here from a really, really dear friend. And I know her, I don't know her in person, but only via Instagram and, you know, social media. But I really love her, and she has sent these to me, and she's going through a really, really rough time at the moment while I'm recording this. I think when you see this video, it already, you know, is a little later, but that doesn't matter for me in this case. And that, why am I telling you that, Louise? Keep calm. A part of making a junk journal can also be to include personal things, of course. When I get something like this in a happy mail, then that is a personal thing. The same thing with this paperback we have there, and the other paperback, this blue one, I also got in a happy mail. That is something personal, like a gift, like a positive thing. It can also be helpful to think about things that can, you know, sometimes something reminds you of something not so positive, but with junk journaling you can turn it into something positive. And I like to use one of these paperbacks from my friend because she's going through this really, really hard time. Did I say paperbacks? It's not a paperback, Louisa. What are you talking? One of these little guys. What is this? You have a pocket here and you have a pocket here, and this is a really cool folding technique. I don't even know how she made this, but I want to include this as a personal thing from her. And I don't want to go, I have a problem now because I don't want to go into detail about her story and my emotion about her story, because her story has something to do with my life as well. And I don't want to talk about that, but I can't explain that when I don't talk about it. Include things that have some emotional worth for you into your journals. And this fits perfectly. I mean, look, is this the best match? I mean, we could, I also, I think this matches this color, but this would match even better in my eyes, but it has these little stars. And these are like, you know, snowflake stars or something. These are snowflakes, aren't they? This is a Christmas paper. But who says that we can't include a Christmas paper into an embroidery journal? I take this, put that back into my stash, because these colors match not so well like these. And the other thing is, why can't I take something, and that is something that I really, I do that really often. When I think the colors match perfectly, the theme doesn't really matter for me, because when I have these snowflakes here, I mean, these papers look a little wintry, or this page looks a little wintry as well, doesn't it? With this white, like, gessoed overlay. But this is really winter. And for someone who discovers the finished journal later, isn't it more interesting to find something like this than something like this, which is more neutral in theme? Isn't it more interesting to have something where you think, hey, snowflakes, what are they doing there? I find this more interesting. Do you know? So let's place this perhaps here. I want to place this here so that I can see everything, but that I don't need so much space for everything. So I want to be a little clever when I place that there. What about this? That's a perfect match as well. So let's perhaps put this here. I don't want to have more of these. I don't know why, but let's see. Perhaps we can take one of these tinier things. These are white. Yeah, let's place one of these here where the other translucent paper is, or paper bag is. And I also have these. These would match really well. But this, I mean, I like him, but do I want him to be in my journal? But on the other hand, when we talk about embroidery, I mean, first, oh, this is so hard. I am so sorry. My brain works faster than my than I can speak. That is, oh, I'm so sorry. First, I thought, nice color, but this is too cute for me, for this thing. And then I thought, why don't I take the same argument like with this one? Because this is contrasting in theme. The colors match perfectly. And when we talk about embroidery, these little flowers could be embroidered as well. So why don't we take this? I think that matches. We have flowers in the other thing. We have the flowers here. Yeah, let's take that. Oh, but let's place this here where because this is a bag as well. So what else do we have? Oh, this would fit really well as well. This is a package from some guitar strings, but I can't use this. I need this for something else. I also have this coffee dyed dings here. CD sleeve. I'm just thinking, yeah, that can also be a thing. I have two CD sleeves, which I already have altered. First I choose this, and then I found this. When I see this, I think this matches way, way better with this and this. So I take this and put this away because I take this and I want to have only one CD sleeve in my journal. Same reason like with the other paper bags. So that can also be a thing. that you perhaps want to have in mind, that you, I mean, these things are not in your journal now. You are trying to make decisions at this stage of the project. And if you have something on your table and 5 minutes later you think, oh, I don't like that anymore, like with the CD sleeve, then just take it away and put it back into your stash. Because why to stress yourself? You can also, of course, change your mind, because this is just some preparation. This is not hammered into stone. This is from 49 Dragonflies, as you can guess, from the stamp. But this is nice, isn't it? And this could, ooh, this could also be something where we could try to take some real embroidery threads and a needle, and we could try to make some accents here to this, because this looks somehow embroidered as well. If you think really abstract, this could be something that could also be on, you know, a blanket or something like that. So let's take that, put this here, and I have this. Yeah, that's also a really good match. So let's put this here. Okay, so what else do we have? Now we have a, what is this? Oh, I have this left over from a 5 item swap I did a long time ago, but this is also nice. Let's place this perhaps here where these, like, because these I can imagine to use as they are as little pockets in the journal. And I want to have these, you know, here in the same spot. And I think I will put this here as well, because this is so small that it could be used as a pocket as it is as well. Okay, so then we have that. Now we already have a lot of paper. Can we think about other materials which are not paper we could use? What comes to mind when we have like this embroidery theme? We already have some more things now. Can you see that? In the beginning, when the table was empty and I only had these papers here, there was this embroidery theme and the contrast with these stitched papers. Now we have some more things to draw new inspiration from and to start you know, to take as a new starting point. For example, this, let's take that out for a moment. We have this, we have this, and we have this, which brings a lot of black into this whole thing. And we also see that we have this black and brown contrast somehow. Oh, even this, look, when you look from far away, you can see that even better. And even, let me place, put it back here, where it was. Even if you look from far away, because that is also a point for this mood board method, even if you have it like this. And I can see that really clearly when I look to my iPad now, and I think you can see that as well. And even if you, I mean, because the angle is so wide, but even when I look with my eyes to my table, I can see this black and brown contrast, because I can have an overview of over all of this. Yeah, I can see the black and brown here. I can see it here, and I can see it here and here, even if the things are not in the same place. But if you think it helps, then just take them out and put them here so that you can see them close to each other to find some more things that could match this, what you can now take as a new starting point for a new inspiration. Yeah, so you don't want to put this out of the way. You don't want to ignore this, but you want to focus on this to find new things. And what shall we do next? Shall we stay with this idea of finding some more like black and brown contrasting things? Or shall we first talk about something that is really close for using in such a journal, in my eyes? Let me just think about that. Let me take a sip of coffee. As you perhaps can already tell, it's really hard for me to explain what's happening in my brain, because sometimes that is so fast what's happening there that I can't even talk as fast as my brain works, and then the things get mixed. So I don't even know if I really want to focus on this black and brown contrast, because it is really hard. And compared to this embroidery paper, I have the feeling that it is too much contrast-wise. I have the feeling that I have enough contrast with choosing the stitched papers as a contrast for the embroidery paper. And I have the feeling if I search for more like black and brown things, that is too much. Because this is like an accent. Like sewing would be an accent, you know, like I would sew around the pages with my sewing machine and a black thread. That would give me a nice accent and a nice special thing. And that is somehow what this brings to my mind. Okay, so let's not go on with this, but let's have that, like, you know, in the corner of our brain. Perhaps we want to think about that later again. Let's first talk about those things that are really close to this embroidery theme, because when I think about embroidery, I think about doilies, I think about like real embroidered things. I know that a doily isn't embroidered, but you know, a doily is something that I can have. Let me quickly put this out of the way. And that is a good thing, because my doily drawer is right here. That is really good. So let me quickly take one out. I know that this isn't embroidered, but I have this and it fits, and this is something that I can do in my journal. And with do, I mean I can take it and use it. And if I want to have an embroidery journal, but I don't have the skills to embroider, why don't I use this? That makes me happy. That makes my journal interesting. What I'm trying to say is you don't necessarily need to stay really close in your theme, within your theme. Yeah, because why? No one says that you have to use only embroidery in an embroidery journal. If you want to make, for example, a horse themed journal, no one says that you can't use a squirrel or a brown cookie because the brown fits the horse. The brown of the cookie, I mean. Do you know what I mean? This is really thin, so that is good, because I think that doesn't add so much bulk. And I also already have a little idea for the journal cover I want to make. I want to try something, but I will not talk about this now, because I also want to have a little like surprise for you, because I think that is something perhaps I think I can say I have never seen that before. So but that is not the theme of this video, and I have to, you know, I have to make it a little exciting for you as well. What about this? This, look, this is also not embroidered, but somehow and I don't even know how this yeah, it's häkeln in German, but I don't know the English word. I'm sorry, but you can see it's not embroidered, but somehow it matches this paper collection. And if we talk about the combination of embroidery and paper in this paper collection, why can't we combine embroidery with something similar in the journal as well? So that is something that goes through my mind when I think about this as well. And I really like this. I got this for Christmas last year. This could bring my plan for the cover into danger because this material is really, I mean, I see already a journal cover here that is dangerous, but we take this and put this here. I could also imagine to take some scissors and cut some of these elements out. For example, this oval here, you could easily cut that out and use that as an embellishment. So you could also think about like bigger materials that you have and that you could cut into pieces. So let's put this here. And since my doily drawer is directly here next to my table, yeah, as I'm standing here, and there where my legs are, there are drawers, and I can open this, and when I open, let me show you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm hoping that you don't get sick now, because this drawer is directly next to me here. So I'm standing here, and the drawer with my doilies is here, and the drawer with my lace, which I will probably open in a second as well, is here. Meaning, if I have my table with my mood board here, and I have some reminders here, only a tiny bit, this doily and this material, this reminds me to use doilies and lace and all of that stuff. But my table gets bigger automatically when I open this. And for me, in my special case here, there's no need to take everything out from here that I want to use and put this here, because I can see this and think, oh, I want to use another doily. I want to use more lace. I open this and then I can choose what I want to use from here. If you don't have, I mean, this is coincidence, yeah? This is like a happy accident or something. If you don't have some situation like I have here, then of course you can also place everything there to the table. But I guess I want to use a lot of lace and doily stuff in this journal, so that it is really handy for me now to have the drawer right here. But we can also perhaps put, let's put a tiny piece of something different here, also as a reminder and to see the different possibilities, because later on, of course, I also want to make a photo of all of this for you, so that you have something to work with. You can also print that out or something. And I want to have some variation here, meaning we have this doily, we have this bigger sheet which we could cut into pieces, and I also have materials like this where we have like fabric, and I would consider this embroidery, isn't it? I don't know if that is really the right name, because I don't have knowledge about these things. But let's place this here to have a reminder that we can use something like fabric and embroidery stuff. Do you know what I mean? What I also have is I have some tinier scraps here. For example, this and this fits perfectly to this paper collection, because this has these flowers here. So we could perhaps place this here as well. Okay. I also have this more delicate kind of thing. This is from a blouse, I guess. Really old. That has the perfect color. I often use this to have some like frayed materials. This is really thin, and this is the rest. I definitely have to go to a flea market and try to find more of this, because this is really good also for, you know, layering behind labels or something like that. It would match this yellow paper we've chosen in the beginning. It's relatively yellowish, isn't it? Well, I will put that back into my drawer, because I'm not sure if I want to use it, but I place it there so that I can see it really, really clearly. Okay, so then, what else could we choose from our stash? And I also want to talk about, how do you do that? I have, I would say, a relatively organized craft room. I consider my craft room organized. And I think that I have a really good overview what I have, and I have the most things in my brain. Yeah, if you tell me, Louise, I need 3 brown buttons, 10 seconds later you will have your buttons. I will ask you small or big, light brown, like, you know, beige brown or really dark brown. What do you want? You say that, and then 10 seconds later you have your buttons. Nearly the same with nearly any other materials as well. Yeah, so I think I know that also so well because this is my job. Yeah, so I have to know my craft room and I have to know where my things are, otherwise that would drive me crazy. But if you don't know that, and if you perhaps have drawers where you have thrown everything in and you haven't found the time to organize that, go to those drawers. Open your drawers. Go through your craft room. Don't sit at your table or yeah, at your table or on your chair, but stand up and go through your room and look what you have. Take the things and hold them into your hands. That sounds perhaps a little bit weird, but touching the things and touching especially like textured materials, that is in my eyes really important to make something like this. Did I just say buttons? We need buttons here as well. So here I'm back with some buttons. As you can see, I have found some normal ones in my stash. I've chosen some white ones and these, like, you know, off-white, because I thought that these fit all of these papers really well. No matter to which page we would put them later, they would fit. I've also chosen some black ones because of, you know, this discussion with myself with the black and the brown here. I have also one which is covered with some fabric, as you can see. I thought that would fit the whole theme really well. Also the fabric materials here and the theme with the embroidery. I also found this little thing. This is an unfinished handmade button. I made this in preparation for some handmade buttons which I prepared to then cover with some glossy accents. As you can see, here is no glossy accents on here yet because it's just not finished, but I thought, why don't we just take this, because it fits with this little writing here from this book page. This was made from a book page, and we can also of course take something unfinished and finish that later, or take this as an inspiration for making more of these and then perhaps finishing them up with glossy accents. And I also found this button, yeah, and when I was in front of my drawer, I have a whole drawer, not drawer, it's multiple drawers of buttons. I was not so sure if this color would fit, but I think this is a good choice. It brings in something that also could work with some of the colors I have from my embroidery thread here. So I have taken this. I know that I have more of these, but I have taken only one so that I can put it in here. Same with this one here. One is enough for me at this point, so that I can remember later that I can also use more of this. Same like with the lace, for example. So let's put these here. And when I searched for the buttons, I also found both of these little things. This, I think, comes from the stash of my grandma as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. And these little sequences reminded me to embroidery somehow as well. So why don't we use something like this? It's the same thing like with the other like fabric materials which remind us to embroidery, so we can use something that isn't embroidery, but you know, this shape here is like some of the shapes of the flowers on the paper and so on, and some of these shapes here from this material, or even this. Look, this fits really well together as well. So I thought perhaps we can combine that somehow. Where do we put this? I think I will put it here into this little thing as well. And I also found this. This is also really Christmassy, I would say. This is wood. And yeah, it's not embroidered, I know. But the color matches. and we have this like a little bit reddish color. Perhaps that could work to make some of these elements a little bit more warm as well. And these little ornamentish things reminded me to embroidery as well. So why don't we take this and put this here, and we can use that as well. So what else could we put in here? Perhaps you want to go through your stash and take something out that you haven't used for a while. For me, that are postage stamps. I love using postage stamps in my junk journals, but to be honest, sometimes I'm not in the mood for using postage stamps. But then, you know, those days come where you think, let's use this because you haven't used it for a while, and then you want to use them again. So let's see. Oh, here, look. Oh, that is strange. When this postage stamp was in here, I could only see this little rosette. And I thought, that reminds me to embroidery somehow as well. And when I have taken it out completely, I could see that here are the colors of Germany. I think so, yes. Bundesrepublik Deutschland. And these colors, this yellow and the red and the black, was somehow a reason, I guess, why I haven't used this postage stamp before, because this is a weird color combination somehow. But imagine you see only this, and imagine you would put, for example, a button on here. Now this somehow fits this embroidery theme, doesn't it? That is cool. And that is something, I guess, you can see when you make something like this and when you have already a few materials laying here, because then you can play around and you can look what you could combine and what could look great. And then you can also see the reason in, for example, using this postage stamp. Sometimes when you see your materials separately or when they are in your stash, you can't, I mean, that is only my opinion, yeah, you can't see combinations and you can't see the possibilities that you have with your materials. And in this case, I think this is really a good example, and the other postage stamp as well. So because I'm in this theme now, I can see that I want to use exactly this postage stamp with this little, I think this is a carpet, isn't it? No matter what it is. Do you see why I think that it fits? These patterns, and I mean, this could be embroidered somehow. And even if not, even if you just flip through this and you have something where, yeah, like for example, this wanted to come out, obviously. Even if you have something where only the colors match, take it out. Yeah, you don't necessarily need something that fits so well like both of these. You can also take other things where you think, okay, the colors match, or I have somehow a feeling that I want to use that. For example, with this, it's somehow the same. I think all of these things where we have like those little somehow regular patterns could work really well. Let's see. Here's green. That is probably not so good. Do we have some more neutral things? Obviously not. Ooh, what do you want to tell me? Oh, you want to go back in here? This is orange. I mean, you could also, of course, try to paint over them or ink them in some way so that they are not so extreme anymore. Color-wise, I mean. Yeah. I think that's it for the moment. Oh, what about this one? Come on. Come out. Please come out. Yeah, I think this one would work as well. It's a little bluish, and I know that in this paper collection there's some blue which is similar to this as well, so let's take that as well. And of course we can always later come back to our postage stamps with these as a reminder and then take out more. So I will put this back to my stash and where it belongs. And what you of course also can do is you can go through your pre-made ephemera, if you have some, and look what could match. I made these little page tabs here the other day. I thought perhaps we can find some that could match this one, for example. Let's take them out. This one could work as well. Oh, this is really neutral. Here we don't have so many colors, so let's choose this one instead of this one. Oh, this could work as well, especially with this kind of, you know, material. This is just a piece of lace. This could work really well as well because of the black here. So let's perhaps take these. Let's put the rest back in here. I will put these back into my drawer where I store them, and I have these as a reminder if I need more. So perhaps we can put them to the side here. Like this. I have some unfinished ones here as well. Shall we perhaps take one of these as a reminder as well, so that we can then later on decide if we want to make more of them. And what I also have here are some fabric page tabs. I made these in a video as well. I will link this down below for you in the description box, as well as the video with the other page tabs. And if this doesn't fit, I don't know. And this is even by coincidence the same button like the one I've just shown you. So why don't we take some of these? And that also brings me to the idea, all of these things are relatively neutral in theme. I mean, we have flowers which are like focal points. Flowers are alive in my eyes, yeah. So I mean, not only in my eyes, flowers are living things, aren't they? But what about some more, like a variety of other focal points? Meaning, for example, some people. So let's do it like this. Let's take these three here. If we need more, we know that we have them here in our little storage. I also made these little guys here from some stickers. There's also a video available about these. I will link that down below in the description box as well. But I'm thinking, I mean, this could be a nice combination with the flowers and this little birdie, but they are really green or red. If we would take this, this would be the perfect combination. So that means I take one of these as a reminder, put that to this bag, so that I know that I have those, and that I know that I have more. But the rest in here, yeah, I used relatively much red and green. It doesn't fit so well, so these are not allowed to play with us. I will go to my drawer of pre-made ephemera again, and I will look what can I find that matches this better than these little guys here. I didn't expect that I find so much that would fit here. So let me show you what I have brought to my table here. So this is one of a little, yeah, I made these, how can I call them? These little guys here. With a cool trick with some stickers. There's a video available on how I made these as well, and I think this fits really, really nice with these little flowers, and color-wise, of course, it fits as well. It's neutral. Then I have found these. I made these on Easter this year. There's also a video available. Holy moly, if I shall find all of those videos I'm mentioning here at the moment. That could be a long way of editing this video, but of course I will link all of those videos down below for you. But these match so well, and they match with the people on these page tabs. I also have this variation here. It's, and as you can see, the same idea. This is this like reddish brown as well. And why have I chosen these? Because these bring a little more life to, like, these papers are like, these are still a little bit dead, aren't they? Because they have no pattern, no interesting things, no ink, no nothing. And this is somehow alive already. And that, of course, helps to find the things you want to use as well. Doesn't necessarily have to be embroidered. Again, if this reminds you, or if it just speaks to you, then use it. Just use it. But I'm trying to decide if I want to use all of these. I mean, I have 3 of them, but I think I want to use only one, so that this one piece is then a unique piece in the journal. Same thing like with this paper bag here. And I'm just trying to decide, do I want to have this one that is a little warmer, or this one which has a little more black? I think I want to have this one in here. Yeah. Let's take this one and let's put that here to the very edge. Let's take these. Don't forget this, Louisa. Put this out of the way. Not so easy. And then I found a few other things I made either in videos, and there are videos here on my channel available or not. Some of these things I made out of camera. So this was made when I had a 5-item swap with Juliana Michaels, and I have 2 of these because I had a German and an English video, and I think, but it was within for the same swap. I think this matches really well. Also because we have this photo here, and I'm really happy that everything is still so neutral. So this is the other tag from that swap. Why don't we put this here? I made this for the release of the latest color by Ranger and Tim Holtz, Scorched Timber. This can glow in the dark. I think this is really nice because we have this little fluffy stuff here. It's a little darker than, for example, these things. Brings a lot of nice contrast, I would say. I want to use that. And both of these I also made with Scorched Timber. Is that too grungy? Or is that the right amount of contrast to this? I think this fits really well to this and to this. Yeah. I want to have that. And the second one as well. Then I have these little guys here. Here, this is already a little tuck spot where you can take this little thing out. I also have a video about this, but was this from the German video? I am not totally sure. I will link that down below for you. If you can't find exactly this, then you will find the English version of the video there. Yeah, I think I think I made these in the English video and this in the German video. I'm not totally sure, but can you see? It's perfect. And that is also, of course, a great way. Go through your stash if you have pre-made ephemera and try to see what you can use and what you already have made, because this, for example, and also both of these are like ready to go. Yeah, try to not stress yourself by making everything from scratch, but look what you already have made. Perhaps you have followed a tutorial and perhaps someone has shown you how to make a tuck spot like this, or how to stamp on acetate or whatever. I mean, that was this example, but perhaps you have seen something else. Perhaps you have seen a tutorial for making page tabs and you have those. Then look if you can include them into your journal project and use what you have pre-made as well. And don't stress yourself to think, oh, I have to make thousands of tags, I have to make thousands of page tabs, or yeah, those things. I also found this. I think I'm relatively sure that I made this out of camera. When I had it in my hands a second ago in front of my drawer, I thought it's a good idea, but now I'm not so sure, because this is so purple and pink. I don't know if I shall like that. Do you know what I will do? I take this and I put that here to my paper bag with the red, to have it in mind and to, oh, now you can't see it anymore. I'm sorry, it's there in the corner. I want to see it, but not directly here in the middle, but I don't want to forget it as well. The same with this thing. I made this also for a 5-item swap, and I thought this picture would work great. But when I look at this purple stuff, that would fit better than the other card I've just had in my hands, but I'm also not so sure about this, so I will put this into the very edge there as well, so that we can have it in mind, but I'm not so sure. So what else could we put here? Of course, now we have a ton of like paper material, fabric, and like other materials, like tiny things like buttons and so on. We have pre-made ephemera. And we could, of course, also include some things like stencils, stamps, or even colors like ink pads or so into our mood board. So since I can reach my stencils from here where I'm standing, let's go through some stencils and let's see what could match here. I guess that some floral things would work, or, oh, look. Even this one. This is somehow this postage stamp phenomenon, because this is somehow a regular pattern and it looks, yeah, it reminds me to stitching somehow. So this could be a thing to use. And especially I find including like tools into your mood board as well really helpful, because especially when you have a lot of tools and things, it can be helpful to put them here to limit yourself to a few things you want to use, because when you have too much, then it can happen that you get overwhelmed and then you don't know what to use, and then perhaps you end up using nothing. Do you know what I mean? These crosses remind me to some stitching as well. There we have some roses, and this is perhaps not so bad because this stencil is one of the mini stencils, so it's not such a big pattern. So let's take this one as well. And even if we decide against one of these later, we can always take it and say, okay, we don't want to use it, and then we can put it back into our stash. But we have a limited amount of tools here, so that we then can say, okay, this is my limitation, I take something from here. And of course, no one says that if you later on don't like the things you have chosen, you can always change them. Yeah, but then you can again think about a limited amount of stencils and you don't have everything in front of your nose. I find that really helpful. Oh, look at this. This one, where is it now? Ah, yeah, this one. This one, I think, could fit really well as well. Look. That reminds me to embroidery even more than the flower stencil here. I mean, I've chosen the flowers because we have flowers in the paper, but I have chosen this because this reminds me to embroidery. Yeah, there are two different reasons, but of course both would fit. I mean, of course, I can't say that. In my eyes, it's like, of course. You can have a totally different opinion about that, but that doesn't matter. You have to say to yourself, of course this would fit, because then it's your reality and your truth, and that is important, and not what I think. Oh, this here. Oh, come on. Always reminds me, and I think these are roses, some abstract roses, I think, but this always reminds me to this, to like yarn, which is like in a really unorganized ball or something. Let's take that. Okay. I think that this is enough for the moment for me. I don't want to put too much here, even if I know that I have more stencils that also would fit. But I want to limit myself to these. What about some stamps? I don't have space here anymore. But perhaps I can do it like this. And like this. And then let's find some stamps. And we have some space here. Okay, so let's see. What do we have in here? What about numbers? I mean, numbers would always work, but in this case, I don't know if I really don't know why I should use numbers. The same with letters. I mean, we could build some words like embroidery or whatever would fit. Don't know. Oh, but look, this would fit really well. This is also, I mean, it is not embroidered, but it's like, you know, like the name says, fragments. And these patterns would fit perfectly, I would say. So let's take this one out. Since this is one of my absolutely favorite stamp sets, it's called Papillon. And we have some butterflies here. Butterflies, people, flowers, that would fit really well. But I'm just thinking, I have another stamp set with butterflies. So these are relatively small, but this stamp is obviously really great. But I also have the Flutter set. These are all by Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. And these are really great as well. And I even have this one. This is called Specimen, I guess. Yes, Specimen. There's this butterfly, and even this moth. We have some moths on the pre-made ephemera here. So why don't we use this and this in combination somehow? I will put these, since they are so big, here to the edge of my table. You can't see them anymore so well. They are there now, but hopefully this is not too bad. Let's take this one here because we can use these. Can you see it? I have the feeling that when you do this, and the longer you are in front of your table, the more you can see what fits and what doesn't immediately. I can see flowers, really filigree. Like this reminds me to these like really delicate doilies. So I can decide really fast what I want to use and what not. And that is cool. This, for example, it's perfect. Somehow, with this, this I think originally was one of these pages which you can find in the very front of a book. I don't know. Is that called end paper? In German, it's Endpapier. I guess perhaps the English word is end paper. But I think this is from an original vintage book, and Tim and Stampers Anonymous turned that into this stamp. But since I am in this embroidery theme and thinking like outside the box that we have made in the very beginning with choosing the paper, since I'm able to think out of this like narrow theme, I see embroidery here as well. Because these are tiny flowers. These have these little dots. I have flowers there. I have chosen dots here. I have some other elements that remind me to embroidery here, and I can find the same arguments here. And even if I can't bring that into words, that doesn't matter. I mean, what are we doing here? We are trying to choose something that we want to use in our junk journal. We are trying to don't get overwhelmed, meaning the reason why you choose this is not so important anymore, because you have started, you have come into the process, you have all of this already, meaning you are not in the in front of your empty desk. You are not in front of an empty piece of paper and you don't know what to do, because you already have something. And the reason for choosing the next items is totally irrelevant, because is that an English word? Irrelevant. That is German. Irrelevant, relevant, irrelevant, not relevant. It's not important, because if you think that this matches, then it matches, yeah? No matter what the other people say. If you want to use this, use it. And I think the main point is to make this decision and not to, overthink what other people could say. If other people could think, oh, is this beautiful, or does this really match? Forget it. It's not important. It's so not important. And even if you want to use some more Christmassy things in your journal because you think that this writing fits well or the flowers fit well, then use Christmas stamps, even if you are not making for the Christmas season. I don't want to use this because it doesn't speak to me so much, but here are, postage stamps. I mean, could work as well. Shall we try that? I mean, I said we want to challenge ourselves as well. Shall we try it? Because we have the postage stamp theme here. We have postage stamps here. Would fit really well. Let's try it. Perhaps that can work. Let's just try it. And this was only one basket of my stamps, which I've taken to my table here. And you can see I have a lot of stamps here already. I will limit myself with the stamps as well. When I later on think, something doesn't work, then I can always exchange these. But I will stay with a limited amount of stamps and stencils and other things here on my desk. What else do we need? Shall we take out some colors as well? I mean, I remember for the other mood board, I have talked about that in the beginning of this video. There I have made a color palette for my journal with the help of my ink pads. I've put them to my table here, and I've also taken out other mediums, like for example embossing glaze and paint and spray stain and so on, I think. But when I remember doing that, I can also remember that it on the one hand helped me because I could see the colors here on my mood board. On the other hand, I can remember that it was totally annoying when I had to stand up from my craft desk there and come to my mood board table here to pick up the ink pad. That was annoying. That was really annoying. And I think I don't want to do this here because, you know, we have neutral colors here. I think we can later on decide about if we want to use more colors, like for example the red or this purple or what we had there, and what we want to do with this. I think I will decide that spontaneously while I'm working on the journal. Yeah. But do you know what? I think we should for a second come back to these papers, because when I look at everything here now, I can see that I have a lot of tiny things. I have a lot of things where I can make decorations. I have pre-made ephemera where I can say, okay, I make some pockets from the smaller papers to put my pre-made ephemera in, like the tags and so on, and the cards. And I have a lot of these printed pages, but I'm just thinking I want more full pages, but not so neutral like these, but with a little bit of interest, like book pages. Or what comes to my mind is sewing patterns or something. That could work as well. Or what about some maps or so? Let me go and look what I have. Or even, perhaps even some ledger or so. That would work as well. Here we go. I found these little pieces of some maps. Red and blue. I have the feeling, I really have the feeling that something is going to happen with red in this journal. I mean, it was the whole time somehow there with this paper bag from there. And now I found this. We also talked about some blue, because there are some pages with blue in this paper collection. I'm a little bit afraid, but here I mean, because I wanted to stay in a neutral color palette, but perhaps this is still neutral. But this is everything else than neutral, but it fits to the theme somehow, doesn't it? It has red. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And somehow this fits. I mean, it's a lot of red, but somehow it's also not so annoying. I mean, is it crazy when I put it here? And what do you think when you look at this whole thing? What do you then think about this red? I think it's not so massive. Let's try that. Let's just try that. I also found these really cool, and they have blue. So, I mean, and I think that this is for making embroidery, isn't it? I mean, I have no idea. Hopefully this. Oh my goodness. I think that this is for what is this? I have no idea, but this reminds me to embroidery, and I always thought, yeah, here it says Stickmotiv für das Modell auf Seite 186, 187, Bogen 3. That means embroidery pattern for the piece on page 186 and 187. This was a really abstract translation, but Stickmotiv, Sticken, that is embroidery in German. This is from some Oki stuff. This is from my mother, I guess. And I think this fits really well. It's black and brown, so you know, here. And then I found this I think, I don't know, is this from my mother as well? I don't know, but look at these pages. This is perhaps a little crazy, but why don't we take this out here? I mean, this is perhaps a little bit big, but we can cut that smaller later. Yeah, and somehow this journal wants to be red. Oh, this green is crazy. I mean, if I would use this page, I would have the green on the back, or we would have to cover this somehow, but I don't know what is happening here at the moment. But I was, you know, in the beginning I already said that I'm assuming that this will happen, that I can't stay in this neutral color palette, but it's really somehow scary for me that I choose red, because that is not so typical for me. But that is also something. We want to challenge ourselves and we want to grow, yeah? And this is definitely, I mean, choosing this color is definitely somehow growing for me, because it's something that I normally probably would not choose without doing something like this. This is also interesting. Technique page. It's not embroidery. I know. Who cares? I want to have that in there. Ooh, look. Look. Oh, perfect. Okay. So then we have those. And did I say I wanted to have ledger a second ago? I haven't found... no, I haven't taken some. I know where it is. I don't have to find it. But I haven't taken some ledger with me when I took these, because I thought if I use all of this, that is probably already enough. What do you think? That is always hard to decide. So let me... I think I really want to have ledger, because ledger sometimes also has red and blue. So perhaps I can find some where some red and blue elements are, and then it would fit really well to these. So here we go. Here we have some red. This is empty. That gives us a lot of possibilities. Also some journaling space. This is not a ledger, but it's blue. That is a weird conversation with myself here at the moment, but I think you got the idea. This is, you know, black and brown, like with this, and the paper itself is different colors. And we have some blue writing here and some more black here. I think that is good, and this is totally enough. Okay, so now I think I want to have another coffee now. To put this out of the way, shall we? Can we do something with this? I just put it for decoration for the beginning of the video, so that the desk is not so empty, but it fits somehow as well. So let's put it perhaps here. I think I want to have another coffee and a little break to think about if this is everything that I want to have to start with. Yeah, so I think breaks are really important, especially those kind of breaks that bring you distance to what you have here. Go and, you know, go for a walk or drink a coffee or whatever, have a little nap, and then come back to your table and look what you have, and look if you can see something that is perhaps missing. And that is exactly what I'm going to do now. I want to have a coffee, and then I want to think about these things, and perhaps I will walk through my room again and look if I have some more things that could fit here. And if not, this is my mood board, and this is my result for today, and this is my starting point for the next steps. Whew. Breaks are really important. I found some more things, and there was actually a really cool coincidence, even if I don't believe in coincidences. But look, I have taken these. Perhaps that's the strangest thing ever. These are some, is this written here in English somehow? Räucherstäbchen, meaning this is something really good, but normally not meant for junk journaling. You know, you take a lighter and you light this here, and then here comes some steam that smells good. How is the word in English? I don't know. But why have I taken these? Oh, so good. These are the best in the world, by the way. Normally I use this to have a nice scent in my room, but I just saw a TikTok video by Shanna. She is Shanna? I think she is called Shana and not Shanna. How can I, oh my goodness, how can I say her name wrong? She's called Shana, Shanuki Art on YouTube and on TikTok. And she made something. She has taken her lighter and burned this. And then, you know, here is a little bit of fire. And then she has taken a paper and she has burned through the paper. That looked really easy. I have never tried that. And then she has put another piece of paper behind so that you could look through the holes here. And I was wondering, can we do something with this and make something like a burned embroidery impression? I mean, if I can't do these things in real, can I make something like a pattern with holes like we have here with this kind of stuff and then make something cool? Perhaps. I mean, I think I can do that. If Shana can do that, I can do it as well. So let's see. So I put these here and perhaps we can even get a nice scent to our journal as well. And then I thought we have talked about tools like stencils and stamps, but I totally ignored my die cuts because that is a tool as well. And of course you can use die cuts in your journal as well. And where's the second one I wanted to take? Oh my goodness, give me a second, please. Here we go. Because the first thing I thought was this. Oh my goodness, I'm so stupid. This is not the right one. Ah! Perhaps I should drink another coffee. I wanted to take this one, but it's the same kind of die cut. You can cut into a page with these without having the frame cut, meaning you can make a hole or like a pattern into your page without the page falling apart. And look at these flowers, and this cool embroidery style thing. And this is, I guess, similar to this. Look, is that, oh, is this perhaps even made with the same thing? Yeah, it looks like this is the same pattern like this. I have never noticed that before. That is interesting. This is also, of course, obviously a great way to learn more about the tools you have, because, you know, this matches them really well. So I want to use this here, I think the whole set, but I also thought when I accidentally have taken this, that perhaps these little dots here and this could work as well for the theme. And since we've talked about focal points and the flowers, the people, and some like living things, I thought, why don't we take some birds as well? Because all of these like fabric and lace materials really remind me to bird nests. Why don't we take these? And when I have taken those, I thought, I remembered these little guys here. I made these during Defamorember, which is a December daily series in collaboration with my dear friend Barbara from 49 Dragonflies. And in 1 year of Defamorember, I can't even remember when that was, I made these little stamps also with the help of this die cut set. And I think they are a little bit, can you see that? I mean, that was the first time I made stamps like this, and obviously I made some mistakes, and these are coming apart here a little bit, but perhaps we can use them and perhaps they still work. We will try that out. But why have I chosen those? Because they have these little holes here. I poked into the shape here with an awl, I guess, or a needle or something like that. Can't remember. But this is somehow like holes from sewing. So perhaps we can do something with these. And even if the stamps don't work anymore because I constructed them not so well, then perhaps we can take this apart and use the material from the stamp itself. Yeah. So why don't we put things into our mood board that we can't use in reality anymore, but we can deconstruct something and use only parts of that instead of having it laying around or throwing it into the trash can. So let's put these here. And I also try to set up this mood board in a, let's say, aesthetic way so that it speaks to me somehow. And my problem is that I don't spend too much time with arranging this instead of going into the journal making process. But at the same time, I think it's important to spend a little bit of time with doing this, because this is the first point. This is like you are jumping into the process, and if this is harmonious and if this speaks to you, then the rest of this process is going to become easier in my eyes. And that's why I spend some time doing this. I also want to have these little things somewhere where I can see them really well. So I put them here to these empty spots on my table, because they are like, you know, special pieces. They are not buttons like those are. So I think it's good when we have them separately here somewhere. So is this everything that I want to have, or do I miss something? I think it's not so important if something is missing here now, because, you know, you have something and you have a point to start. This desk is not empty anymore, so we can go into the process and start. And we can later on still decide to add more things, to remove something, to exchange something or so. Because I think when this mood board is too full and there's too much, then it can already get overwhelming again. So perhaps we should just say, this is it for today and for this mood board, and perhaps we should just start jumping into the process. And I think I want to start with the main pages for my journal, meaning I want to build the signatures for my journal first. That is, yeah, in the most cases, the first step after gathering the materials. So that is what you will see in the next video. And there's also coming something to my mind, but I have to decide that without you, because that needs some thinking. I think about some rust, but I don't know if I really want to include rust. But I mean, yeah, like real rust or fake rust. But somehow that comes to my mind because some of the things I've chosen are really like grungy. And I'm wondering if rust could be also a good combination and at the same time contrast to the printables we've chosen. But I will decide that, and you will then see that in the next video if we do that or not. I will stop here now, and then I will edit the video, and then I will go on and you will see everything on my channel then. So I hope that this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, then please let me know. And I'm really happy if we see the next time when we go on with this crazy journal and with this. I'm a little bit afraid about the red here and there, but we will see what is going to happen with that. So have a very great and creative day, and see you the next time. Bye bye.